The spark that lit the fire the Galactic Council chamber stood high above the clouds of Elion Prime. Its silver walls shimmered with light from 1,000 systems. Ambassadors from across the galaxy gathered that day, expecting routine debates and soft warnings. But what arrived instead was a mistake sealed in blood dot. It came from the outer sector, flashing in red across the main holo display. A single line of text blinked. Earth is under attack. Repeat, Earth is under attack. Gasps filled the chamber. For a moment, no one spoke, and murmurs rose. Who would dare? A thin ambassador muttered. It must be a mistake, said. Another, eyes wide, but at WASN single quotes T dot out on the edge of council space. A coalition of fringe warlords, desperate for resources and fame, had made a decision so foolish that even pirates refused to back them. They attacked Earth, believing it was still isolated, primitive, soft, but Earth wasn't soft. Not anymore. Back in Earth's orbit, the first ships that entered Sol system didn't even make it past the asteroid belt. Defense satellites opened fire without hesitation. Orbital mines lit up like tiny stars. Earth's sky remained combat. Below, the nations of Earth united in one voice, one warning. Inside a hidden bunker beneath the Andes, General Halle leaned forward at the operations table. "Show me the origin," he said. The screen lit up with data. A young analyst pointed. "They came from Council territory, sir. Rogue factions, maybe." But the signal route was traced through official Council lanes. General Hale's eyes narrowed. So they let them come. Earth's defense network hummed to life. Silent warships, cloaked in dark space, stirred from orbit. Black Fleet protocol was activated. A message was sent, brief and final. Earth acknowledges attack. Response underway. Back in the council chamber, Ambassador Lin of Earth arrived late. She didn't wait for the ceremonial greetings. She walked to the center, voice calm. A council-controlled faction launched an unprovoked attack on Earth. Our systems were breached. Civilians targeted. The chamber fell silent. We ask for names, not apologies, Lin continued. And we expect justice, not condolences. One of the council heads tried to speak. Ambassador Lin, we must investigate. No, she said coldly. We are not waiting. The response has begun. Far away, in space, something stirred behind Jupiter's orbit. Massive engines ignited. One by one, Earth's Black Fleet. Ships emerged from shadow. These were not peacekeepers. These were warships built in silence, born from wars Earth had long survived alone. Each vessel carried the markings of nations united, not by politics, but by survival. The warlords had attacked Earth, thinking it was still the past, but Earth had learned. And now, the galaxy would learn too. The council chamber watched as data poured in. Human ships moving with terrifying precision. Untraceable. Unstoppable. Silent. One counselor whispered, "They attacked the wrong planet." Another replied, voice trembling, "And now Earth is showing us why that was a mistake." The silence before the storm. The Black Fleet did not speak. There were no grand announcements, no glowing banners, no threats sent to the stars. Earth had learned long ago that real power didn't boast. It simply acted as the council watched in silence. The screens above them showed Earth's warships moving like shadows across the void. Each ship was painted a dull gray, with hulls built not for beauty, but for purpose. They were ghost ships designed to appear invisible until it was far too late. From her place in the council chamber, Ambassador Lin said nothing more. She simply stepped back, folded her arms, and waited. The message had been sent. The council knew what was coming. Meanwhile, deep in the outer colonies, the warlord fleet celebrated its early victory. They believed Earth had been caught off guard. One of their leaders, a tall alien named Grath, stood before a holomap filled with red markers blinking over Earth. "We struck hard," he growled. "By the time they gather a defense, we'll already be halfway to Mars. Then the real glory begins." His second in command, a younger female named Lyra, nodded with hesitation. "Unless they strike back first," Grath laughed. "Earth is a myth, a story told to scare children in the dark. They've been silent for too long. They're weak." But at that very moment, Earth's Black Fleet arrived. A single scout ship spotted them first. Before it could even send a signal, a beam of light split it in half. No explosions, just silence and drifting hearts. The warlord fleet scrambled. Lights blared across command decks. Shields went up. Engines roared to life, but it was too late. Black fleet vessels began appearing one by one, sliding out from folded space like ghosts. Rising from the dark, their weapons charged silently. Their targeting systems locked on. There were no speeches, no warnings. The message had already been given. The first blast came from the flagship Eclipse. A single pulse cut straight through. A warlord dreadnought, slicing it open like a blade through cloth. The explosion rocked the sector. Grath stood stunned. "What is this? How are they?" Another flash. Another ship gone. Within seconds, Earth's ships had torn through the outer guard. The warlord fleet tried to scatter, but Earth's AI systems had already calculated every retreat path. Inside the Eclipse, Captain Marek stood silently, arms behind his back. "Orders, sir?" his officer asked. "Clean sweep," Marek replied. "No survivors." Back at the Galactic Council, panic spread like wildfire. Reports of Earth's counterattack flooded in. The chamber echoed with frightened voices. They wiped out 4 cruisers. In under a minute. "We never approved this strike. Why did the warlords act? How many ships does Earth even have?" Ambassador Lin didn't smile. She didn't need to. She simply turned to the council and spoke one line. "You allowed. This attack, Earth has responded. No threats. No demands. Just facts. And as the next data feed played across the screen showing more warlord ships, torn apart by Earth's quiet fury, a single truth echoed in every council member's mind. They had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked the wrong planet. Asterisk, no mercy. No retreat. The battlefield looked like a graveyard. Wreckage floated in silence, twisted metal, shattered hulls, and drifting bodies of warlord crews. The once proud fleet that dared to attack Earth had been reduced to debris. In less than 30 minutes, on board the Eclipse, Captain Marek observed the aftermath without a word. His officers moved with practiced calm. This wasn't the first time Earth had been forced to defend itself, but it was the first time Earth had done so in full view of the galaxy. All enemy vessels neutralized. The tactical officer confirmed. "Any survivors?" Marek asked. "Escape pods detected. A dozen at most." Marek paused. "Transmit coordinates to orbital enforcement. Let the locals deal with the cleanup." He turned to the comm station. "Send a report to Earth Command. Inform them the sector is secure. Black Fleet returning to dark orbit." And just like that, the ships began to vanish again, folding into shadow, leaving behind only the silence of defeat. Far above, in the council chamber, horror and awe held every species in place. Live data feeds showed real-time scans of the destruction. One delegate whispered, "They didn't just win. They dominated." Another said, "Those weren't even Earth's full forces. That was just one fleet." Ambassador Lin stood again, her voice steady and low. "We told you Earth wished for peace. We sent warnings. We asked for cooperation." Her eyes swept the chamber. "But when silence was our answer, we prepared. And now You've seen what we are. The council head, an elder from the Everan species, slowly leaned forward. We did not know. We believed Earth had stepped back from military actions. Lin nodded. We did. Until you sent violence to our doorstep. A new feed appeared. Overhead, a warlord outpost on a nearby moon, the one that gave orders for the first strike, was now under siege. Earth's ground forces had landed without resistance. The warlord garrison dropped their weapons before the first Terran boots even touched the ground. Those soldiers weren't massive beasts. They weren't armed with exotic alien tech. They were humans, calm, coordinated, relentless, moving in perfect formation. Not one spoke unless necessary. Not one showed fear, and not one needed backup. Inside the outpost bunker, Graf lay wounded, pinned under debris. His arm was broken, and one of his eyes was swollen shut. He could hear them now human soldiers sweeping the halls. He cursed. Under his breath, this can't be real. Then, a pair of boots stopped in front of him. A human soldier aimed his rifle down, eyes cold. Graf sneered. Kill me then. The human didn't pull the trigger. He just stared. You brought this on yourself. The soldier said dot, then he turned and walked away. Graf shouted after him. You think this makes you strong? You're monsters. The human didn't answer. Graf's voice cracked. We only attacked because they told us you were weak. He never saw the human again. Back on Elion Prime, panic now turned to desperate discussion. What if Earth chooses to strike again? Can we even stop them? Ambassador Lin remained still. Earth has no interest in ruling the stars, she said. But if you raise your hand against us again, you will lose that hand. One counselor finally broke the silence. What do you want from us? Lin's expression didn't change. Nothing. And that was what frightened them the most. The fear that followed the council chamber had never been so quiet, not even during the last great galactic crisis, not even when a black hole devoured 3 outposts in the Tyros sector. This silence was different. It was fear. Earth hadn't asked for reparations. It hadn't demanded surrender or tribute. It hadn't sent fleets to orbit. Council worlds as a show of force. It had done worse. It had done nothing. Ambassador Lin departed without another word. Her ship rose from the council tower, disappeared into the stars, and didn't look back. That terrified the galaxy more than any declaration of war could, because everyone watching knew something important. Earth didn't want control. Earth wanted silence. And when pushed too far, Earth delivered it. On the Council's outer rim worlds, the news spread fast. Refugees from the destroyed warlord fleets spoke in hushed tones. They described human ships moving like shadows, never broadcasting their presence. They described weapons that made no sound, just impact, just death. Some said they saw soldiers in black armor walk through fire without stopping. Others claimed they saw humans show mercy, even when it wasn't earned. But the fear had taken root. Rumors turned into ghost stories. Children were told, behave or the Earthborn will come. Entire planets began strengthening shields, not because they were under attack, but because they feared being next. Meanwhile, in Earth's military council, a meeting was already underway. General Hale stood before a digital map of known council territories. Red circles marked every path the warlord ships had taken. Earth's counter-response had been brutal but controlled. Council factions are scrambling, said a commander beside him. They're calling for emergency reforms, new weapon spending. Some even suggest peace treaties. Let them? Hale replied. We won't strike unless they do. But sir, the officer added, what if they unite against us? Hale stared at the map. They won't. And if they do? He folded his arms. Then they'll learn what happens when you corner a world that was born in fire. He turned to the communications officer. "Any news from Captain Marek?" "Yes, sir. Black Fleet returned to shadow orbit. Minimal damage. No casualties." Halle nodded once. "Good. Let them rest." But even as Earth powered down its weapons and resumed its silent stance, the rest of the galaxy couldn't. In the Council's classified chambers, secret conversations began. They destroyed an entire fleet in under an hour. No losses. That's impossible. They haven't even revealed their largest ships. What if this was just the beginning? One elder from a distant star system leaned in. "I heard Earth has a second fleet. Twice the size, unseen." Another added, "And a weapon they call the Silence Protocol. No one knows what it is." The rumors became fuel. Fear turned to paranoia. What Earth had shown wasn't just strength. It was restraint. And for the first time in generations, the most powerful species of the galaxy realized something terrible. They weren't at the top anymore. On a quiet hill overlooking a Terran city, a group of children played beneath the sun. Life continued. Earth didn't celebrate the victory. There were no parades. No war songs, only silence. The kind of silence that came after the storm. And far above, among the stars, 1,000 eyes watched Earth with a new kind of respect. Because it was beautiful. Not because it was peaceful. But because when they attacked the wrong planet, Earth didn't roar. It simply ended the fight. Asterisk whispers across the stars, across the galaxy. Whispers grew louder, not from Earth, not from its leaders or fleets, but from everyone else. On trade routes, pilots spoke in hushed tones about ships that vanished after crossing into Earth's outer defense zone. On border colonies, alien children played games where one of them pretended to be the human, while the others ran away screaming. And on hundreds of worlds under council rule, meetings were held in secret rooms, behind locked doors. "If Earth could do that to a war fleet in minutes," said one alien official, "what would they do to a planet?" No one answered. They all knew. Earth had become the new shadow. A name no one dared say too loudly. Inside Earth's orbital command center, Commander Yara sat alone, reading new council transmissions. Some offered apologies. Others sent gifts. One even offered a peace medal made of rare minerals. She smiled, just slightly. "Funny," she muttered. "They used to ignore us." A young tech entered the room. "Ma'am, there's a new file from the Intelligence Corps." "Put it on screen." A display lit up showing intercepted conversations from council regions. Key phrases flashed in bold. "Avoid Sol system at all costs." "Do not engage human ships. Ever. They don't ask questions. They act." Commander Yara tapped the table slowly. "Fear's done its job. But what about trust?" The tech asked Dot. She didn't look up. "Trust died when they let U.S. burn." She tapped a button, closing the feed. "We don't need trust. We need peace." On a planet deep within council space, a group of younger delegates gathered ones who weren't afraid to question old ways. One of them, a blue-scaled thinker named Vel, slammed his hands on the table. "We drove them to this." He snapped. "Earth warned us. We mocked them. And when they responded, we call them monsters?" The others looked uneasy. "Vel, they wiped out an entire fleet." "Yes," he replied, "in defense. And now we cower like prey." He stood up, voice clear. "I say we go to them, speak with them, learn from them. Or one day, when the next strike comes, it won't be just a fleet. It'll be the stars themselves falling." The room was silent, but for the first time in years, someone had spoken with reason, not fear. In a council office high above Elion Prime, a secret vote was cast. It passed. The result: an official envoy would be sent to Earth. No weapons. Number. Demands. Just words. Ambassador Lin, now back on Earth, received the message personally. She read it carefully, then placed the tablet down. They're finally ready to talk. Beside her, General Hale raised an eyebrow. Should we believe them? Lin nodded once. No, but we'll listen. Across the stars, a quiet shift had begun. Not in policy, not in war, but in fear itself. The galaxy finally understood the truth. Earth never wanted to conquer the stars. But if pushed, they'd remind the stars who they really were. Asterisk a seat at. The table the council hall looked different, now not in shape or size, but in atmosphere. No longer did the elder races carry their usual smug confidence. No longer did they chuckle at Earth's silence or dismiss its people as unimportant. Earth had earned more than fear. It had earned a seat. The envoy from Earth stepped forward. This time it was Commander Yara herself, standing in place of Ambassador Lin. She wore no robe, no glowing insignia, just a simple black uniform with Earth silver insignia on the shoulder. The chamber hushed as she began. Earth received. Your request for dialogue. We are here. The council head, an old, thin creature with translucent skin, bowed slightly. Commander Yara, thank you for your presence. Let me begin by saying, she raised her hand. We didn't come for apologies. That cut the air like a blade. We came for one reason, she continued. To make sure this never happens again. The chamber froze. Delegates leaned forward. Some adjusted their notes. Others avoided her eyes. Yara stepped toward the center platform. Holograms of wrecked warlord fleets spinning above her head. You say the attack on Earth was the work of rogue warlords. Fine. But those warlords traveled through your space. They used your corridors. Your silence let them through. She paused. We've accepted that. We've responded. But we will not ignore it. Her eyes swept the room. You won't either. One brave delegate from the fringe sector cleared. His throat. What do you propose? Yara tapped the display. A new image appeared. Earth's peace doctrine simple, unadorned, and unmistakably direct. Do no harm. But fear none. She said, we want a new agreement. Not just with Earth, but among all of us. You call it unity. You say you value peace. Now prove it. Another delegate whispered, and if we decline? Yara looked straight at him. Then, Earth steps back, and the next time you ask for help, you'll find only silence. The weight of that statement dropped like stone in water. The chamber buzzed. Debates began. Old alliances cracked. New ones formed. Meanwhile, above Jupiter, the eclipse remained hidden, dark, and still. Captain Marek received Yara's speech via silent feed. He watched without blinking. His first officer asked, do you think they'll agree? Marek stood. Quietly. No, he said, but they'll think about it. And that's enough for now. Back on Earth, Ambassador Lin looked over the growing list of planets, requesting direct talks. 20-5 so far. Then 30. Then 40-2. Species that had once looked down on humans now asked for trade, for defense partnerships, for guidance. They had attacked the wrong planet, and now they wanted to survive with it. In a small colony on the edge of the galaxy, a teacher told a group of children a story. There was once a world that stayed quiet while the stars ignored it. But when danger came, and others tried to take from it, the world didn't scream. It didn't cry. The children leaned in. It reminded them who they were. It reminded them that some fires burn quietly until they burn everything. Child asked, was that Earth? The teacher nodded, double quotes, and now? The child asked. Now, the teacher said softly, the galaxy listens. The planet that changed everything months past, but the memory of Earth's silence and its terrifying precision never faded. In the outer sectors, Council patrols doubled. Warlord factions scattered or surrendered outright. Trade routes were remapped to avoid anything close to soul space. And on planets once considered untouchable, security drills now began with a single phrase: what if Earth comes? But Earth didn't come. It stayed quiet, just like before. Not because it was weak, but because it had nothing to prove. In a vast conference hall built on neutral ground, a new symbol hung above the grand table. A spiral star, half blue, half silver. The emblem of the unified accord. A new interstellar agreement, born from the fear Earth had forced into honesty. For the first time in history, Earth held permanent council status, not as a lesser species, not as a silent observer, but as an equal. Ambassador Lynn stood at the front of the chamber once again. Her voice was calm. "Today is not a day of triumph," she said. "It is a day of warning," answered. "The galaxy chose to listen, not because we demanded it, but because you finally saw us." Her words weren't bitter. They were steady, measured. We've had war, we've had silence. Now we try something better. Elsewhere, far from cameras and speeches, in the hidden halls of military command, Earth's Black Fleet remained ready. Not deployed, not paraded. Just waiting. Commander Yara stood before a holomap of council space, arms crossed. "They're still nervous," an aide said. Yara gave a rare smile. "They should be." The aide hesitated. "Do you think they'll attack again?" Her smile faded. "No, not unless they forget who we are." On a backwater planet, a small-time pirate bar buzzed with chatter. "You know what I heard?" A grizzled alien said, tapping his cup. "I heard Earth's got weapons that don't fire light or sound, just erase entire fleets." "Nonsense." Another scoffed. "Earth's quiet now. They're finished." The first alien leaned in. That's what they thought before they attacked. The table went silent. And one more voice, young, new, asked softly, "Why didn't Earth take revenge? Why not conquer the stars?" The old alien just looked at him. "Because Earth doesn't need to conquer what already fears them." From space, Earth looked as it always had: blue oceans, green lands, white clouds curling across continents. Peaceful, beautiful, silent. But now, a galaxy knew. This was the world that broke a fleet in minutes. This was the planet that didn't boast. This was the planet that stood alone and made the galaxy tremble. They had attacked the wrong world. They had awakened something ancient. And now they would never forget. Earth had no throne. Earth had no crown. Earth didn't need one, because Earth had shown the stars. That silence is not weakness. It is warning, the end.